Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me today. Adrian was great. Lots of technology to get our heads around. It's quite an exciting time to be in virtual production. So thank you for having me. And I'm from Final Pixel, which Final Pixel is a end-to-end virtual production company. Make sure I hit the right clicker button. Yes, there we go. And we have kind of a full stack company. So we started a few years ago creating virtual production sort of around Mandalorian time when COVID hit, and really saw a huge opportunity and a direction of travel of converging these three technologies, which are LED, Unreal Engine, and what did I say, games engines, LED, and cameras, thank you, in-camera VFX. So merging these three technologies to come together. And one of the things that we quickly realized was that if we don't have trained creatives to work in this space and to work with these core technologists, because now we have this whole brain bar volume control on-set VP team to work with these new productions, that it's not going to take off very, very quickly. So we have our creative production for Final Pixel, and we do everything from concept all the way to delivery. And then we have our world builders, which they are award-winning. They create all the photoreal environments that you see in virtual productions, not only for our own, but for other companies as well. And they have to be optimized. It's one of the things that Adrian was talking about with the Unreal Engine scenes and the nerfs and the Gaussian splatters, which are really great. But they have very big particle systems that are used in games. So for LED, we want to make sure that they are optimized, so you have to have that appropriately done. And then, of course, the Academy. So I'm the head of the Academy. I have an education background as a senior lecturer at a university, but I'm also a creative production producer and writer. So before I kind of go into how do I actually get into VP and what are the pathways, I want to play a little game with you. See how much for technology you know how. So I'm going to play this video, and then I want you to tell me which of these scenes you think were shot using virtual production. Guesses. Which one of those scenes do you think were shot in virtual production? Just shout them out at me. Yeah, just shout them out. The scene with the firefighters? Okay, good.
All of it.
All of it, good. What else? Any other guesses?
The one where she's on top of the mountain?
With the farmer, yes. Okay. Any other guesses? All of except for the baby, so the baby was not. Very interesting. That's great. I get all kinds of answers from this shot. I guess the takeaway is that if you can't tell, it's done really, really well. Yeah? So Max is going to just pop through some of the scenes for you. I'm going to tell you what was virtual production and why we shot that in virtual production. So if you want to go back to the first shot. There we go. So most people would think that's probably virtual production. I've built a mountain on my stage, and I can shoot it, right? But I want you to think about virtual production in terms of creativity. We've been immersed in the technology and all of the really cool things that these technologies can do. But I want you to think about in terms of creativity and its application. So this was a commercial. It wasn't an episodic or a high-end TV or a film. So we start thinking about what specific use cases can virtual production be used for. In this particular shot, if we were shooting a drama or an episodic or high-end TV show where you need to get a perfect shot and maybe you have to shoot it over and over and over again, remember the clouds are going to move, the sun's going to change direction, and you're not going to be able to get your shot. Otherwise, you'd have to come back to location every day for probably 6 weeks just to get that one shot where she's climbing up the mountain, right? But this is a commercial, so it's very short, budgets are very small, timelines are very short. So this one was actually on set. On location. Next shot. You can't really see it on this picture, but somewhere in the green mountains, there's kind of a seam that goes through the mountains. And you could say, well, that could be virtual production because that's where the LED wall meets the floor. And that's one challenge that we have in virtual production is trying to hide that seam. And how do we do that creatively? But again, because this is a commercial and not a film, if this was a heavy dialogue scene that has a really long scene, again, your clouds are going to move, the light is going to change, and you'd have to come back and forth and climb up this mountain, bring all your crew, all of your kit and everything, day after day after day. So in that particular example, it would be good to use virtual production. But because this was a commercial, we went on location. Next shot. So this one was on a stage, but what was really interesting about this was we had an LED wall, but we used green screen. Why do you think we used green screen? Any guesses? Why would you use green screen versus LED? Adrian talked a little bit about in-camera VFX. Green screen has slightly different pipeline, different workflow, right? Where you have VFX in the post-production, you would have lighting that you would have to key out, right? In this particular shot, the water is VFX, and the foreground fire done in Niagara was in the foreground to give that sense of dimension and depth of field. But that, obviously, you wouldn't want to go on location and shoot. That would be probably quite dangerous, right? And then the last shot, which I think somebody said was the only one that was not VP, is actually virtual production, right? So everything in the background that you see, obviously you've got foreground, you've got the couch and the table and the little bassinet. So those are all foreground production design, right? Set design elements. The background, with the lights in the back, those are baked into the environment. So all of that's virtual. The only thing that we put here is this window frame, and it's sitting in the foreground, so that when the camera is moving across, it gives that nice parallax. Anybody know what parallax means? Okay, you will know what parallax means after my talk today. Next time you sit on a train, and you're racing through the countryside, beautiful Germany, everything is passing really quickly when you're really, really close, but then things that are midfield are passing by slightly slower, and things in the far field are really, really slow and hardly move. That's parallax. It tricks the eye, right? And so this is the trick with virtual production, and getting that in-camera VFX is having this parallax that moves across the set that gives us the sense that we are really there. Okay, so you all passed. Don't worry. That's great. So just to give you a little bit of an opportunity to understand, this was a shoot that we did, and we worked with a company to basically demonstrate to them the benefits of virtual production. You can either go out on location and shoot for 2 weeks and bring all your crew and camera and having to get all of the lighting and spend lots and lots of money, or we can shoot this and do it in 2 days. So it was shot on a day in the volume and a half a day out on location. So the technology and obviously the creative technical people who are very smart and know how to do this stuff is a higher cost than traditional shoot, but you're shortening your shoot. And all kinds of benefits, sustainability-wise, economies of scale, being able to repurpose your environments in the background for multiple shoots. So I came across this article the other day, and it was talking about all these new technologies being revolutionary. It's an opportunity, it's a rallying cry. And people that I talk to in the industry, from technicians, VP supervisors like Adrian, DPs, directors who have worked in the industry for a long, long time, are now having to learn how to work in this new environment. From a training standpoint, we train everything. We train every different department from the creative script development all the way through post-production. And we also have a trusted stage network around the world. So we work with these LED volumes all around the world to really help to push virtual production to the forefront, to make sure that it's well adopted, and also what's happening in the industry so that we stay well connected, so innovation continues, new ways of doing technology, because every 3 to 6 months there's a new Unreal Engine update, or there's some new piece of kit that we can kind of plug in and make those workflows a lot easier. I think one of the interesting things is that's really shifted is the workflow in virtual production. So in traditional production, we're looking at sort of a waterfall method where you come up with a concept and then it moves through each department where those skill sets get added into that narrative. And then you've got a post-production and a VFX element. But by doing it this way, where everything moves to the front end, as Adrian had said, you move the VFX to the front, you de-risk your production a bit because you have already pre-built what you're going to shoot on set. Everything has been conceived and conceptualized and gone through with all of the heads of department before you even get on set. This is a really great visual in terms of, is virtual production better, the same, or is it worse? And you can see in the green, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better, but it might actually be different. And this is affecting everything from earlier start for the writing and the previs all the way to visual effects. So it has many different benefits through sustainability, through cost-saving measures, and as well as creativity. This is another really interesting paradigm. This is a skills mandala. So all of the blue dots are our traditional film crew, right? Your DPs, your directors, your writers. What's interesting is all of the yellow, the new technicians that have been added into this virtual production fold. And it's nice to see how these things get integrated. But again, with learning traditional film education, you're also learning about live broadcast, you're learning stuff from games engines, the games pipeline, VFX pipeline. And do you have to learn everything and know everything? No. But each role across the entire production pipeline needs to be skilled up in virtual production because it has a direct impact on your particular job role. This is the new hierarchy on the set. You see your on-set, your OSVP team here on the right, where you've got a VP supervisor, somebody like Adrian, who is running the ship, and then your VFX supervisor, who is working with the world builders and the virtual art department. And then you have your operator in the middle, so the technician that's working in the brain bar or the volume control that is operating the Unreal virtual environments on set. And again, from an education standpoint, sustainability is a really, really important key measure that we want to embed in the early on education, because if you can start amplifying that in your production capabilities early on, you're going to carry that on into industry. And in this example, Reckitt's had done virtual production in about 80% of its different projects, and 75% CO2 emissions were saved per shoot day. And that's huge. So it's something to really look at how we can make that advantage in virtual production. It also has your budget considerations. Again, you will spend a lot of money on your VP hardware, your LED, your camera tracking, and your crew, because they're highly skilled technicians. But you will have less shoot days. Your art department and your virtual art department, you will have less wastage because you're not having to build as much set design. Your location and crew cost, because you're not having to travel them all over the world. And your post VFX, you're not having an unknown VFX budget at the end of your production that might topple everything over. All of our learning pathways are directly a result of a job role in the industry. So you can see we have 4 kind of cohorts. You've got your production or your producers creating virtual art. So this is your virtual art department using Unreal Engine. And then running a volume, which is your stage technicians, your stage operator, technical artist, your VP supervisor comes into the filming in a volume with your DPs and your directors. So this was last year. We did pretty good, considering that it's still a very, very early technology. This year, we're going to do probably triple that, because now it is definitely something that is embedded in the curriculum. It's starting to take hold because the industry is definitely moving in that direction. One of the things we also like to do with our education is to make sure that we partner with organizations, with universities, to make sure there's that handshake between industry and education, because that truly is the way in which we level up and skill up a vast industry very, very quickly, because there is a massive chasm in the skills shortage for virtual production. There's lots of opportunities for you to get in on the ground floor because this is early adoption. There is so many opportunities. And also the thing with learning this technology, like learning Unreal Engine, you may want to be a producer, or you may want to be a writer, and you think, well, I don't need to learn all this technology. But you will need to understand how it works and how it feeds into the whole pipeline of virtual production. You don't have to be a technician to work in virtual production. And the other thing, too, is having these skills are transferable. Manufacturing, real estate, science are all starting to use these same real-time technologies. So it is a skill that you will be able to utilize in lots of different industries moving forward. These are some trainings that we've got coming up as well. And again, you can see we train professional crew, high-end crew, as well as university students. We train up staff. So it is that whole pipeline of education that we're trying to approach. And then we have a new podcast that we just started. It's called The Inner Frustum. This was actually in a VP studio. So that's a virtual production environment, or a virtual environment in the background, to bring in experts in the space to be able to disseminate what's happening in the world of virtual production. So I think I'm going to leave it there, because we'll probably talk some more in our Q&A talk as well. But thank you very much, and I hope you guys jump into virtual production, because we need you.